11 p.m. in Abuja, Nigeria. It is midnight in Johannesburg, South Africa. 10 p.m. in Accra. My name is Bright Nanafo. Thanks so much for staying there. You're watching TV3. It's on DSTV channel 279. Tonight, we'll bring you the latest stories from across the country and beyond in the next 30 minutes. But first, let's look at some major highlights of the day on this network. The Golu Anti-Slavery Defense Wall, a tourist attraction in the Sisala West District of the Upper West region, has been abandoned. Tourists no longer pay access to part of the wall preserved for tourism purposes due to the poor state of the wall. Meanwhile, the Bunahafo region abounds in untapped tourism potential, which, when effectively harnessed, could generate income for local communities and the national economy. A splinter teacher union, All Teachers Alliance Ghana, ATAG, is lamenting over what it describes as lack of support for teachers in rural communities. The group says it is time for all teachers to be devoid of financial difficulties and enjoy enhanced living conditions. Major parts of Accra remain clean a week after the sanitation exercise. Areas like the Kaneshi Market and Kimbu, which are always engulfed in field, have been cleaned after the National Sanitation Day. The Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research of the University of Ghana, Legon, is partnering top international institutions to provide better ways of tracking illicit financial flows from developing countries. The 3-year project seeks to analyze the magnitude of factors that influence illicit financial flows through commodity trade and transfer mispricing from resource-rich countries like Ghana. And on the international front, with 50% of the presidential election results in Sierra Leone released by the National Electoral Commission, there is a close contest between the ruling APC and the main opposition, the SLPP. APC candidate Dr. Samura Kamara leads with 566,113 votes, while the main opposition candidate Julius Bio has 564,687. The remaining 14 candidates share the rest of the spoils. 55% is required to avoid a runoff between the eventual two top candidates. Don't forget, TV3 is on channel 279 on DSTV. Now, let's jump into the big one. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has noted the realization of his vision of Ghana Beyond Aid requires a deliberate qualitative change in all aspects of our lives, including the structure of the Ghanaian economy, the nature of the infrastructure, the education of young people, and acquisition of skills, and above all, change in attitudes of the citizenry and holding firm to the values that define Ghanaians. The president made the call for Ghana Beyond Aid was on November 27 last year when French President Emmanuel Macron visited the country.
We want to build a Ghana Beyond Aid, a Ghana which is independent, which is self-sufficient, that is capable of standing on its own feet and building its own life. We can do it.
Ghana Beyond Aid is meant to be more than a slogan. It is meant to propel us into the frame of mind that will quicken the pace of our development. It is meant to change our mindset from one of dependency to one of achieving our destiny. It is meant to put us in charge of our own affairs and make us truly independent. Above all, Ghana Beyond Aid will give us the respect and dignity we deserve. Let us believe in ourselves. Let us believe in Ghana and in Mother Africa.
And of course, the president reiterating Ghana Beyond Aid at the independence anniversary. Now, this has attracted mixed reactions, and let's take a look at some of them. Beginning from here, former Vice President Pakwesi Misartha has described the government's much touted Ghana Beyond Aid mantra as a mere rhetoric. According to him, the government is yet to provide adequate information on the policy, and this raising questions on what exactly it seeks to achieve.
In the immediate or in the current period, if even the current revenues only takes care of our current obligations, and it is the investment expenditure that we have to borrow for, because each one makes a positive contribution, we'll be able to pay the interest and have something left behind, so that over time we'll be able to pay off those investments. Then I say that I'm comfortable with, if that's what Ghana Beyond Aid is talking about, saying that yes, we'll only borrow for capital investments, not for recurrent obligations. Then I can understand. But I'm saying that the problem has not been defined for me to understand it. It's just the rhetoric. It sounds nice, Ghana Beyond Aid, Ghana Beyond. What goes into it?
Former Vice President Pakwesi Misartha, they're asking what goes into Ghana Beyond Aid. We're staying on it because the Member of Parliament for the Bosa South constituency is urging President Akufo-Addo to come out with a policy framework on how the country can achieve Ghana Beyond Aid. Speaking on New Day Saturday edition, Dr. Clement Apak noted this is needed to ensure inputs are made so it becomes a national document. But the Member of Parliament for Infantsman, Eko Hayford, is agreed, stating value addition to raw materials will increase revenue, hence cutting back on aid.
When the president says Ghana Beyond Aid, what exactly does he mean? Is it a policy framework? Has he provided us with a document outlining his vision of Ghana Beyond Aid and what the ingredients are going to be in terms of achieving what he means by Ghana Beyond Aid? I say so because if you read the content of the Independence Day speech, because if you read the content, there is nothing particularly new about what the president is saying. Every president has talked about this, going back to the first president of the Republic. So I think what the president needs to do is to give us the specific blueprint about what he means Ghana being beyond aid and what the indicators are going to be for us to be able to measure and what the input is going to be so that we can assess the outcome.
Let me just give some few instances. The president was trying to make a point that, look, if we are able to add value to what we have, what we export, then of course we are winning ourselves from foreign aid. And he made specific example, like, look, we have bauxite in abundance. What are we doing with the bauxite that we have? For some time now and for some years now, no attempt has been made to refine this bauxite industry. And that for the first time in his administration, he's going to ensure that an authority will be established. It will be brought to the House of Parliament for approval. A refinery, they are looking at a strategic partner to set up a refinery to expand the operation of VACO shelters. So I think the president gave indication that this is what I am looking up to, that if we are able to refine our bauxite, then of course we are going to get more investors in our country. We are not going to export it in its raw material state to the development countries where they would determine the price for it. So I think the president made certain revelation with regards to how he was going to add value to it. Now, when you look at the same adding value to it, he talks about the fact that we have Ghana, we have a lot of manganese. Their plans are underway to establish steel industries to get more factories and to get more jobs for each citizen. So these are indicators that, look, we can be out of aid when we are able to do this.
Member of Parliament for Infanteman. Now, a senior director of SPNJ World Bank Group, Dr. Mikhail Rudkowski, has urged government to come out with timelines for the Ghana Beyond Aid agenda. He made the suggestion at a public dialogue on jobs in Ghana, international best practices, national solution, which was organized or co-organized by the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations, the Center for Social Policy Studies at the University of Ghana and the World Bank.
When you look at factors contributing to GDP over the long run, human capital is the most important one. It's 60% of contributions. So you are absolutely right when you are saying we need to go beyond GDP, both towards measuring assets and towards measuring how people perceive growth, and there is an increasing number of measures going this direction. On structural adjustment, I think we are far beyond the times of any conditionalities. And we are also at the time when, if there is a program which the government implements that may lead to dislocations or inequalities, there is at the very same time understanding that there needs to be a social safety net, a cash transfers program to alleviate that and to go hand in hand with any program instituted by the government. I really like, personally, very much like the line Ghana Beyond Aid. But the way I interpret it is that Ghana should have a target, go beyond aid by a certain time, and that time should be used to substitute aid by bringing in other private financial flows, both domestic and foreign, so that aid is no more needed. And I think it is a wonderful strategy, precisely is interpreted aspirationally with a deadline, with a target, and I was very kind of inspired hearing that during my few days here.
And that's it for the big one. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll tell you what's happening in Sierra Leone as the Electoral Commission continues to release results of the election. Stay with us. We're back in a moment. Welcome back to News at 10. Now let's go to Sierra Leone, because the National Electoral Commission there has released the second set of results for the presidential race of the March 7 general elections. The NEC chairperson, Mohamed Conte, addressing the press, the capital, Freetown, said the commission had only collated 50% of votes and was going ahead with the patient process of putting the remaining 50 together. The figures show that the ruling All People's Congress APC candidate Samura Kamara was in the lead, followed closely by Julius Biu of the main opposition SLPP. Capital Freetown, Phoebe Swell is TV3's correspondent there, and she just joined me on the phone lines. And grateful for your time with us here. Now, speak to me quickly. What is happening where you are at the moment?
Currently, at the moment, the country is calm and everything is quiet. Everyone's still looking forward to NEC. So far, only 50% of the results have been announced. We're still waiting on NEC for the remaining 50%, which is likely to be coming out possibly next week. Hopefully on Monday, we'll get 25 more percent, which would make it a total of 75% of the votes so far.
And if you say the country is calm, well, there were some agitations. What exactly was the concern being raised by these persons?
There are several concerns being raised. Key amongst them are coming from the opposition, the main opposition, Sierra Leone People's Party, and also the National Grand Coalition. Both of those parties, so far by the results announced by NEC, are taking the second and third positions. They're saying there are several anomalies in the counting process, and some of the areas need to be recounted. That's a concern coming from both parties so far. They've issued their press releases, and yesterday even the Sierra Leone People's Party held a press conference. And just this afternoon, NEC had their own press conference where they announced 25% this afternoon and the remaining 25% this evening. So they have not, NEC has not officially responded to the concerns being raised by both the SLPP and NGC. Both parties are accusing NEC of foul play. They're saying some of the areas need to be recounted, and some of the things that went on during the election, some of their observers were intimidated, and all those concerns have not been addressed by NEC.
I see.
So far, the Sierra Leone police have been able to deploy security personnel at the party offices of the 3 main political parties. Well, 4 majorly: the ruling APC, the main opposition SLPP, MGC, and C4C. They've deployed security personnel at those offices to make sure that as NEC is announcing the results so far, they would not be jubilating in any way that would jeopardize the peace and security of the country.
I see. Apart from the press conferences that are being organized to raise concerns, what are the avenues for those with concerns to ventilate them?
The concerns, basically, as it's been going on in previous elections, the past Chief Electoral Commissioner had said there was this slogan, "Go Police." There was something the main opposition, then SLPP, accused them of several wrongdoings during the elections and saying the election was even rigged. So the response that came from the commissioner then was "Go Police," meaning all those who feel aggrieved should go to the police. And it's the same trend going so far, because we don't see NEC officially responding. But, however, there is a commissioner at NEC for the Western area, Madame Miata French. She was accused by the SLPP that she's trying to help APC, the ruling party, to rig the elections. And this afternoon, in one of the NEC press conferences, she said, personally, SLPP would be hearing from her lawyers. So she intends to press forward, I think, pushing for charges. She just assured people that SLPP would be hearing from her lawyers. But NEC in itself, generally as an institution, has not been able to officially respond to the concerns raised by the other political parties. And following the trend that it's been taking in previous elections, it's just a matter of going to the courts.
I see. Now, the APC and the SLPP have taken the lead. Now, from where you are we likely to run into a runoff?
Yes, 10 chances to 1 there will be a runoff, because so far it's 50% of the results, and they're still along 40-something%. It's not up to even 45% yet. And NEC requires 55% for any political party to be determined the winner. And none of the parties would be able to secure a 55% of the vote. So yes, there'd likely be a runoff. And now the biggest concern is because in previous elections, especially in 2007, a newly formed party then, which was a breakaway from the ruling party then, SLPP, a new one was formed, PMDC. They threw their weight behind APC, that was the main opposition then, and several people believe that action led to the winning of the APC then. 2012, there was no runoff. But 2018 now, it's a very critical election, because both the APC and the SLPP have breakaway parties formed from both. SLPP has NGC formed. The presidential candidate for NGC was also a flag bearer aspirant in the SLPP, but he couldn't make it. He alleged several allegations about violence and personal attacks against him, so he left and formed NGC. And from APC as well, the former vice president under the APC that was sacked of his duties, Sam Sumana, formed his own party, the Coalition for Change. So now there's C4C, a breakaway from APC, and there's NGC, a breakaway from SLPP. But there's also a third one, that's the Alliance Democratic Party, ADP. And the presidential candidate for ADP, upon his return in Sierra Leone, had said he was a member of APC, and the party disowned him. They said, no, he is never a member of APC. So now going to a runoff, how strategically positioned are these two leading parties to form an alliance that would help them secure the winning seat? That's the question. Both the parties are refusing to answer. They are very optimistic that there wouldn't be a runoff, even though the National Elections Watch and several other organizations are predicting a runoff. They are saying they are optimistic there wouldn't be a runoff.
Grateful, Fibian, for your time with us. Fibian Swale, TV3's correspondent in Freetown, updating us on the elections there. Next week, we're likely to see the final results called. Let's come back home. Major parts of Accra remain clean a week after the sanitation exercise. Areas like Kaneshi Market, the Central Business District, and Kimbu, which are always engulfed in filth, were clean at the time. of filing this report.
The news team visited areas monitored after the cleanup exercise last week. The garbage along major streets at Zongo Junction, Mataheko and Sukura had been cleared. Residents here at Sukura refused to participate in last week's cleanup because they were not prepared to pay before the waste was finally disposed of. But all the garbage had been cleared following our reportage. However, garbage desilted from gutters at Mataheko Flamingo was yet to be collected. Uncharacteristic of this spot at the Kaneshi, heaps of refuse had been cleared. The small heap we're told was that of yesterday, which was yet to be cleared.
They came to clean up after you came here, but it's not always like that. If they cleared them regularly, we would also clean up.
The central business districts, Adabraka and the major streets were all tidy and the usual human traffic missing following the congestion by the AMA.
Now, former head of the Police Council, Kwesi Emisatha, is calling on the police hierarchy not to underestimate the importance of effective training to the overall performance of Ghana's security services. As the police contend with the increased crime rate in recent times, former Vice President Kwesi Emisatha says there are enough facilities in the country the police can rely on to equip themselves.
There must be ways in which the police is able, through either informants that they have in the underworld, through training techniques, through the forensic capability that they have, are able to find the people who are committing these crimes much quicker than they are, so that they don't do multiple crimes even as they are being tracked. I think that training is also a very important part. It will not show in new equipment that they have that they can display at Blaster Square on MySys. It doesn't, but maybe it's even more effective in interdicting the criminals before they're able to do harm to us. So I hope that they will also put a focus on the training. People feel that the military should be involved in protecting our territorial integrity. But I don't know the information the president has. I don't know whether this current unstable, this armed robbery and daylight robbery things that are happening are foreign interventions which require the military or not. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But I'm saying that even if it didn't have any foreign, there was no foreign role. The fact that the military is available to help us to secure us is good. And
And that's how we're wrapping up the show for tonight. Thanks so much for staying there. Those of you who watched us from your homes, we're grateful. And of course, to my technical team here, Stephen Nete and Christopher So, my cameramen, Theophilus Clotte, Ben Mensa, Albert Mensa, and of course, Stephen Yeboah, studio director, Brenda Dugan. The show was put together by Ebenezer Ejekumbuati. My name is Bright Nanamfu. We're taking a long rest. We're back tomorrow at midday. Have a great weekend and stay right here on TV3.